On the morning of the 11th Muharram, the enemy brings unsaddled camels upon which the women and children are made to mount. A huge procession is being prepared. At the head of the procession is Umar bin Saad, followed by the officers. Then a few foot soldiers carrying lances upon which are mounted the heads of the martyrs. In their midst is our fourth Imam, chained and shackled. Then camels carrying the women and children as prisoners. Shimmer and the rest of the infantry bring up the rear. The journey to Kufa begins. Yes, the tale of Karbala is a tale to 5 sad journeys. Now begins the third journey of tears. We look at the travelers. Some of those who had set out on that first journey from Mecca to Medina can be seen, but the rest cannot. No, they also can be seen. If you look around, they are lying slaughtered on the sands of Karbala. Who is the hero, and who is the heroine of this third journey? We see the hero handcuffed, chained, exhausted with the long illness and the great suffering of our fourth Imam, Zainab. And the heroine? Yes, we see the lady. She is bareheaded, her face was full of pain, and yet reflecting courage and the strength of her spirit. She knows that for the sake of Bibi Sakina and the other ladies, she cannot possibly give into her grief and sorrow. Yes, it is Bibi Zainab. Umar ibn Saad's cruelty is not exhausted. He decides to lead their procession past where the bodies of the martyrs lie. As a camel carrying Bibi Zainab goes past the body of Imam Hussain, she can no longer contain her pain and anguish, and turning her face to Medina, she cried out, "Ya Muhammad, the angels in heaven send their blessings upon you. Look, here lies your beloved Hussain, so humiliated and disgraced, covered with blood and cut into pieces. Here are your daughters taken captives by Yazid." Imam Zainab walks over to Bibi Zainab. "Dear aunt, have patience." In Nizyat, the governor of Kufa had declared a holiday. The city was decorated with flags and pennants. People had been told that the rebels who wanted to attack their city and murder them had been defeated at Karbala, and that their women were being brought into the city as prisoners. Those who believed this, and many did, came out to line the city streets through which the procession was to pass, so that they might mock and jeer at the prisoners. Big crowds had gathered everywhere. There was a holiday mood. The procession slowly entered the city and began to move towards the governor's palace. People jeered and shouted at the prisoners. There were a few, however, who guessed the truth when they saw Imam Hussein's head and saw the misery and grief of the widows and orphans. They began to shed tears. The majority were ignorant. They believed or found it convenient to believe the lies which Umar ibn Saad had told them. As the procession neared the palace, the crowds thickened. Most of the people who gathered around the governor's palace were those who worked for Yazid or supported him. The jeering and insults grew louder. The face of Bibi Zainab was red with anger. She stood up on the camel, looked at the crowd, and in a loud and clear voice said, "Praise to be Allah and blessings upon my grandfather Muhammad, his beloved prophet. Woe unto you, O people of Kufa! Do you know whom you have killed? Do you know what pledge you have broken? Do you know whose blood you have shed? Do you know whose honor you have defiled?" There was a stunned silence, then a gentle sound of people crying. There was a blind old man in the crowd. He had been a companion of Imam Ali. When he heard Bibi Zainab's voice, he cried out, "By Allah, if I had not known that he had died, I could have sworn that what I just heard was the voice of my master Ali ibn Abi Talib." Imam Zainab went up to him and said, "O Sheikh, this is not Ali, but his daughter Zainab bint Ali." She is the daughter of Fatima, the beloved daughter of the Holy Prophet. The sound of weeping from the crowd grew louder, but as Bibi Zainab continued, immediately there was a hushed silence. And well may you weep, O people of Kufa. The crime which you committed against your Prophet was so great that the sky shook, the earth trembled, and mountains crumbled down. You have killed your Imam, and by doing so lost your shelter against hardship, evil, and kufr. His blood stains your souls. Nothing can protect you from the anger of Allah for having killed the son of the last of his prophets. People could no longer control their wailing. Umar bin Saad was frightened and quickly led the prisoners into the palace. The prisoners were brought before Ibn Ziyad. Sheikh al-Mufid reports that Ibn Ziyad sat on his throne, and in front of him was the head of Imam Hussain. He frequently poked the face with his cane. An old companion of the Holy Prophet, Zayd bin Arqam, was in the court, and when he witnessed the indignity being inflicted on the head of Imam, he cried out, "Take your cane away from those lips. By Allah, I've seen the lips of the Apostle of Allah on those lips." Ibn Ziyad was livid with rage. He retorted, "O old man, how dare you interrupt our celebrations of the victory of our Imam, Yazid bin Muawiyah? Because of your age, I spare your life. Leave my court immediately." Ibn Ziyad then pointed at Imam Zain al-Abidin and asked, "Who is this young man?" "He is Ali ibn Hussain," replied Umar bin Saad. "Why is he alive?" asked Ibn Ziyad, and added, "Kill him straight away." Bibi Zainab rushed forward and planted herself in front of Imam Zain al-Abidin. "You will have to kill me first," she said, looking at Ibn Ziyad with such defiance, determination, and anger that Ibn Ziyad got up and walked away, ordering that the prisoners be locked up. Bibi Zainab's speeches had stirred Kufa. The people of Kufa were filled with remorse. There was unrest in the city. In the marketplace, they were whispering, "What have we done? How could we invite the Prophet's grandson and then desert him to be mercilessly butchered at Karbala? How can we permit the Holy Prophet's granddaughters to be paraded in the streets like slaves? What have we done?" Ibn Ziyad feared that the people of Kufa might rise against him. He ordered that the prison be strictly guarded. No one was allowed to visit them. Only the most trusted guards were allowed in or around the prison. In the meantime, messengers ran between Kufa and Damascus. Although at first Yazid had ordered that the captives be detained at Kufa until he had completed all the arrangements for their entry into Sham. Because of the mood in Kufa, Ibn Ziyad was anxious to have the prisoners out of Kufa as soon as possible. It was agreed that they be taken to Sham. Once again, the prisoners were assembled and a procession left Kufa. But this time, the departure was kept secret from the people of Kufa and took place at night. So began the fourth journey of tears. It was a long and difficult journey. Who was the hero and who was the heroine of this journey through the Iraqi and the Syrian deserts? Was it Bibi Rubab, who from her unsaddled camel kept on staring at Ali Asghar's cradle, loaded on another camel carrying the goods looted from Hussein's camp during the Shami Ghariba? Was it Bibi Sakina, who now sat mournfully on her mother's lap, staring at the alam of Hazrat Abbas, and her mushk still tied on the alam, and who kept whispering, "I am not thirsty, uncle, I am not thirsty"? Was the hero Imam Zain al-Abidin, who was made to walk all the way the hot chains, eating up his flesh? Sometimes our fourth Imam would faint. His captors, however, knew no pity. They would flog him if he slowed down or fainted. On these occasions, Bibi Zainab would intervene to stop the Imam from being flogged to death. This was the journey of which the hero was the ruler of Imam Ali, which ruled the heart of Imam Zainab Abidin, and the heroine was the Sabra Fatima Zahra, which inspired Bibi Zainab. The journey from Kufa to Sham was a long one. It took over 20 days. The women and the children were exhausted. Their suffering was great. Quite often the children would faint under the scorching desert heat and fall off the camels. The mothers would scream. Imam Zainab Abidin and Bibi Zainab would go looking for their children. Sometimes they would find them by the roadside barely alive, and there were occasions when they were discovered too late. Our fourth Imam would dig a grave to bury the dead children. A historian revisiting this route a few years later discovered a large number of small graves on the wayside. Some Zakirs narrate the following story. Once Bibi Zainab looked at the camel on which Bibi Sakina was riding. Bibi Sakina was not there. She looked at all the other camels. Bibi Sakina was nowhere to be seen. She panicked. Where could Imam Hussein's darling daughter be? She asked Shimmer to untie her so that she could go and look for Bibi Sakina. At first, Shimmer responded with his whip. Unmindful of her own pain, she kept on begging. Shimmer untied her with the warning that if she did not return soon, he would flog Imam Zainab Abidin to death. Bibi Zainab ran in the direction from which they had traveled. Some distance away, she saw an elderly lady holding Bibi Sakina affectionately, kissing her cheeks and wiping away her tears. She could hear Bibi Sakina telling the lady how her uncle Hazrat Abbas had gone to fetch her water, and how he had never returned. When Bibi Sakina saw her aunt, she explained that she had fallen off the camel, but the kind lady had looked after her. Bibi Zainab turned to the lady and said, "May Allah reward you for your kindness to this orphan." The lady replied, "Zainab, my dear, how can you thank your own mother? Do you not recognize me?" As the lady lifted her face, Bibi Zainab saw that it was Fatima Zahra.